My name is Camila Domingues, and I'm with Ma'am Smack Powell. And thank you so much for joining me today for a little chat about your newest book, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Storm, Dawn of a Goddess. I got to read the first chapter, and my first thoughts were, well, this is how you start a book. That was really good. I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
keep reading. I'm definitely excited to keep reading. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And this is your first like fantasy
Yes, it
book?
is.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. The whole process was like crazy, but I also like had a really good time writing this. It's fun to kind of like go to a whole nother world. Even though it's very much based in reality, it's still like there's superpowers involved. And who doesn't want superpowers?
Right, right. It's amazing. The mutant world of Marvel and everything is just it's phenomenal. It's so much fun. Very easy to get sucked into.
Yes.
But I do have a few questions about your book. And so you crafted this beautiful origin story for Aurora in this book. And what inspired you to explore her origin story, and how did you decide on like certain key moments, on what key moments you would include in her journey?
Well, I've been like a Storm fan my entire life. Like when
Uh-huh.
I was a kid, I was definitely like, the kid who always like watched like the X-Men series, and I would get excited to see the comic book whenever I did see it. But I was really kind of curious because everyone had different like versions of her origin story.
Yeah.
And so when I was approached to do this book, it was a great opportunity for me to dig into the archives of Marvel and kind of see like, well, where did she come from? And, reading different versions and of course, like, going to like YouTube videos and TikTok videos and just finding out everyone's different like versions of who they know of Storm. I had to pick like very specific moments where really it turned and kind of like shaped her future. And so as you can see in like the first chapter, you meet like her parents, you kind of like learn a bit more about her like her upbringing and what like was really rooted her and how she sort of became to be. So I think that that's one of the other things I wanted to make sure. And of course, like, Marvel definitely had their hands in this, so I didn't just like make things up.
Uh-huh.
I always want to like put that caveat there that like this was approved
Of
by
course.
the creators of this character. So please don't come for me.
No, I'm excited just from the first like chapter alone. I can tell you really care about the character. So I'm just very excited to see where this goes.
Yeah.
But so Aurora's struggle with her powers and her journey to find her true family it's really gripping. It's like it's really intense story. It's very touching. How do you balance her vulnerability and her strength to kind of make her like a compelling character?
That's a good question. I
Yeah.
guess, I mean, the one thing about emotions is that they're universal. Like, you don't need to have magical powers to be a vulnerable like being. And so even mutants have like, their moments and their days. And so I think that that was one of the things that we had to think about, like the way family structure shapes the way we sort of see our future and our destiny. And that was a big part of how Storm's journey became, is that, she was destined from a very early age and people saw that in her. And she always had, that was sort of I guess the background music in her mind, is that
Mm-hmm.
she was supposed to do something bigger. And so even within her journey, when she was, a street thief in Cairo, like, and she started to like make this journey towards Kenya, she still just always had that tingling in her like spirit that this is supposed to be something different. And so I think that that was important for us to sort of explore and think about that in a bigger light.
Yeah.
As I mean, I'm saying light, like, because knowing that she uses lightning eventually.
Right.
But yes.
I love that. No pun intended, but
Yes.
I love that. That's great. But so speaking of going like her journey, going from Cairo to Kenya, it introduces the readers to just various cultures and landscapes. how did you search these settings? Like, how did you do the research? And what was the most exciting part about bringing them to life in your story?
So I definitely consider myself a method author. I love to go to places where
Uh,
stories take place. And so I got a chance to fly out to Egypt. I went to Egypt and sort of kind of traced a bit of her journey. And I needed that, honestly. I was doing all like Google research and, trying to like place her in places. And then I was just like, all right, it's time to go. And so
I love that.
um yeah, so being able to, kind of do, of course, like, the regular tourist stuff, and also getting into like the gritty part of it. Like, okay, where would she sleep? What would she eat? What are the kids like? That was one of the best parts about going to Cairo and sort of like tracing that journey down through Egypt. And then, in the original story, they kind of like make a suggestion that she, just crossed a desert and then got to Kenya. And I'm like, there are several like countries in between Egypt and Kenya. So
Yeah.
kind of like making that trek was also a thing. And I have been to Kenya before, and I have toward different tribes there too. So being able to kind of like use all of my travel experience to sort of shape this character. And even though it's still fiction and we had to sort of like pull back a little bit, it
Mhm.
was still really amazing to kind of like go back into the archives, especially I got a chance to speak with some Maasai warriors. I, knew what it was like to be on a beach in Kenya. So it's just like it was really fun to kind of like go back and use my Kenyan research and also like my very recent trip to Cairo to sure shape this character.
That's amazing. No, that is a really neat like advantage that you get to like use like writing the book. That's amazing. I feel like a lot of like authors should do that if they don't. Like that's like that's
You know what, the best kind of part about the whole trip was that, when I mentioned to, my tour guides or whoever that, Storm was actually from, Cairo, they were
yeah.
like, really? Like a lot of people don't know this. And so,
Yeah.
I love being able to bring these facts to life about her. So like, people were like, oh, she was a sister. She was one of our sisters. And I was like, yes.
That's so neat. That is so so neat. I love that. That is a really cool like experience to be able to relate everything that you've lived like to your book through your writing. That's amazing.
Thank
um
you.
yeah. So speaking about just characters in the book, there is the villain. We see the Shadow King. What was your approach to developing his character, and what do you think makes him just like a really good adversary for Aurora?
So when and through like the research, like going and digging into the Marvel archives, like that actually happened to be the Shadow King was her biggest adversary. Like
Mhm.
this is one person in the entire Marvel universe that like really hated
Yeah.
Storm and wanted
Oh yeah.
and the thing was that there was a lot of different kind of stories about his background and like his desires and like
Mhm.
what like and so it was interesting to sort of approach it as to like why does he want to like have possess Storm's powers? And of course, this is a thing that is across the universe. People talk about the idea of an Omega level mutant, and
Right.
that Storm is very much that one.
Mhm.
And so when someone senses someone else's powers like that, of course they want it for themselves. And so that's really sort of the depths of how I had to like approach this in terms of research, in terms of how we were going to approach the story and how we were going to like, find, ways that he was going to attack her.
Mhm.
Or attack or,
Right.
basically go after her.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 No, that's
So, and the Shadow King is really like an interesting character in itself because he sort of he mutates in a lot of ways. He becomes different characters throughout like his like, lifetime. He's killed, he's reborn again, like all these different ways. And then even like it pops up in the 97
Gotcha.
cartoon
Yeah.
for like maybe one episode or two. But I remember that episode because I was kind of like, well, who's this guy? Why does he have like a problem with Storm? Like it was so just like he's just so mad for no reason. And
Yeah.
like
You need to calm down.
yeah.
That's amazing. Awesome. And so now you're giving us this amazing origin story for Storm, and we're very excited about it. But if you could go and write like an origin story for any other X-Men, which one would you pick and why?
That's a hard one because this is the only Marvel character I wanted to. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got approached to write several different like comic book characters from DC and Marvel, but this is the only one I wanted. This is the
That's
only
amazing.
one that I like. This is my girl. Like, you know, a Black woman superhero that can fly. Like, what? I don't even like walking, period. So like the idea of someone being able to fly, like that's been my lifelong dream. But if I could go and do something else, it'd probably be Rogue.
Yeah,
And maybe I just love her hair so much. I just
she does have really good hair.
yes. And they were pretty cool in the well, at least in the cartoon, they were very like they were tight. So I think I would go back and kind of like write that, especially like her accent is so dope. It's just like, yeah, I would probably go and do that.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. Especially like, did you watch 97? You said you watched it.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I love her in 97.
I like watching that. I was like, man, I miss this.
Yeah.
I was pretty like I said, I was very glued to the TV like every Saturday to like watch this. So like it like brought back so many memories of how much I loved her and loved all these characters.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. That show just makes me feel like a kid in front of a TV on a Saturday again. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me and chatting about your new book, Storm, Dawn of a Goddess. I cannot wait to keep reading, and I'm gonna devour that this weekend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And your book comes out on the 4th, correct?
Yes, June 4th.
June 4th. Awesome. 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 Thank you so much for your time, Tiffany. You have
No
a wonderful
worries.
rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.